to you about production, legal, and finance. Whenever we talk about the film industry, everyone's always focusing on the director, they're always focusing on the actors, maybe the cinematography, the lighting, but we keep forgetting that this is a filmmaking business. There is the business aspect of it, and for any artist, for anybody who wants to work in this domain, it is absolutely necessary that you know the business aspect, even if you don't want to be part of it. So the business aspect is production, it's finance, it's legal. Legal meaning, okay, so let's take it apart first of all. So it's everything other than the directing and the acting directly, but at the same time, they do connect. So what my budget is, who my producer is, affects who my actors will be, where my locations will be, what equipment I'll be using. So in filmmaking, it's never really a clear decision about what happens or how this is led. We're going to talk about different types of movies. So there's categories. When we're talking about feature productions, and again, we're going to divide this into two. So we're going to divide to international standards, which is US and European standard films, and we're going to divide to the Middle East and specifically Lebanon, since this is where we're taking the class. For international films, we're speaking a budget of $5 million for a normal film, for a Hollywood film. $5 million is considered a no budget film. This is a shoestring budget. So this is the budget required really just to get the logistics out of the way. The film is being made at zero cost. In our countries, a film that's made at zero cost, so if we're talking about a feature film that's run by the big production houses, the equivalent of $5 million in the US would be around $50,000 here. So anywhere from $10,000 to $50,000, that's a no budget feature film in Lebanon. Over there, it's $5 million. You can see the difference. Independent cinema is kind of the same everywhere. We differ on one big aspect, which is insurance and logistics and legalities. We don't have trade unions the way there is in the US and in Europe. We don't have the logistics, and well, they're simpler in the States because everything's online. You can find everything you need to know about licensing, about shooting, about trade unions, who you need to pay, what permissions you need to get. Our countries, it's a little bit more shady in the sense that we don't always have clear regulations on what it is you're supposed to do and how you're supposed to do it. You need to speak to a lot of people, get a lot of experience from others. At the same time, it's lower cost. So since there's no unions, true, you don't get paid as much. But again, making a film, trying to look at the positive side of it, is making the film costs you less to make. It's of course a little bit more messy, a little bit less organized, but our cinema industry is still growing. Maybe not right now in this period of time, but our cinema industry is still growing in a big way. So we're going to work on everything. We're going to start with kind of the hierarchy of the command, from the director to the producer to the executive producers, first AD, second AD, understanding the camera crew, understanding the lighting crew, why there's divisions in crews, how the crew gets bigger as the project gets bigger, how you can minimize the crew at the same time, who are essentials, who are not. What you have to understand is shooting a good film, making a good cost-effective shoot that gets you the quality and the product that you want actually requires pre-production. So we're going to go through the stages from concept to script to pre-production to financing, because finance begins from the very beginning of the idea and continues throughout the film. And then of course, when you come to distribution and release, finance then comes into its full prospect. But it has to be thought of from the very start. You don't shoot a film simply for artistic reasons. That's for short movies usually. Feature films, very few people can afford the luxury of shooting a feature simply based on the luxury of producing an artistic work. We need to think of the financial and the business aspect of how am I going to release it, where can I get sponsors, what can I do as product placement within the movie, what names of actors would get me, what kind of things to their cost. So we're going to be working on all these details. We're going to take apart the types of films. So films that are director produced, films that are star produced, films that are basically led by the production or the financer. So whether it's led by the director, whether it's led by the actors, or whether it's led by the financer, or a mix of the three, creates a different dynamic for how the film works and how decisions are made. It makes a different dynamic for the power structure within a film, which greatly affects the crew. We're going to be talking about the ethics, about how to deal on set, how to behave on set, who you take orders from, what is the best way to actually maintain organization and order, the importance of pre-production, what is done during shooting, during production from the business side of it, and what is done in post-production, daily reports, things like this. So we're going to work on the international model briefly, on the local model a lot more, and as much as possible get into as many different details of how to manage an actual film.